Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here. And well, today the devs announced one more change coming to the mid-chapter. You'll remember on Monday they gave us a developer blog which laid out all the changes that we're going to be able to test in the public test build for mid-chapter patch 5.7.0. Presumably that's going to happen next week. And today they laid one more change on us and it's rippling through the community, and it's about Boon Circle of Healing. So today on Twitter they announced, due to popular demand, we've moved a Circle of Healing change forward to the 5.7.0 PTB public test build. So the change here to the perk is the old version would give you up to 75% bonus to all healing speeds. That's being reduced to a maximum of 50% bonus to all healing speeds. And I see a lot of people saying, well, I might as well just run self-care now because the amount of time that it takes me to set up the boon and I'm not getting enough benefit from it for the healing speeds. I still think it's a strong perk, and I'm going to demonstrate to you why. Obviously, the first thing is that only one person technically on your team would need to run this perk, and then everyone would benefit from it. So it's like you're giving self-care to everybody, but it's still a faster self-care. I see some people saying, well, this is the same speed as self-care, but that's not true. So let me show you the chart on how Circle of Healing works currently, and then we'll talk about how the values will change with this reduction in the public test build and mid-chapter patch when that comes out. So here's the chart right now. So this is for an altruistic action, meaning me healing another survivor. The default time is 16 seconds. It takes me 16 seconds by myself to heal a survivor one full health state. Now, we're only going to look at the tier 3 values on the perk because that's really what people are going to use most. If I heal somebody in the boon, we can reduce that down to 9.14 seconds. And this is with the bonus 75% healing speed that we currently enjoy. So I can reduce that healing time from 16 seconds down to 9.14. Now, if I'm healing myself on my own, if I have self-care, this takes me 32 seconds to accomplish. However, if I'm healing myself with self-care in the boon, I can reduce that down to 18.29 seconds, again, because of the healing speed modifier. Now remember that I get a penalty for self-care. I can only do it half as fast, so I'm only going to enjoy half of the bonus speed here. Now, when this gets reduced to a 50% healing speed bonus, I'm only going to enjoy a 25% additional speed in self-care with the boon. But it's still going to be faster. So instead of this time where it takes 9.14 seconds for a survivor to heal me in the boon, it's only going to increase by a second and a half. It's going to be 10.67 seconds for another survivor to heal me in the boon, which is still faster than default. And at the same time, if I'm healing myself in the boon, this is going to increase by 3 seconds from 18.29 seconds to 21.33 seconds, which is still a significant reduction compared to the 32 seconds that you would just heal yourself naturally with self-care. So I still think it's pretty strong. I think most people's concerns with this perk is that it has unlimited uses and the radius of it. So it's still going to be a strong perk. At first I thought, oh, well, this is just going to torpedo the entire pick rate of a Circle of Healing, but I don't think that's the case. Now, one thing I found interesting is that 2 survivors mending a third survivor has a 25% speed reduction penalty, but 2 survivors healing another survivor has no penalty. I don't know. There's probably a reason for that, why 2 people mending a third survivor has a penalty. I'm sure the devs know why, but I just thought that was interesting that the stackable penalty is only for mending and not for healing. So this speed here, this demonstrates one survivor healing another survivor in the boon at 9.14 seconds. So that gets halved if you have 2 survivors healing one third survivor in the boon. That reduces down to 4.57 seconds, which is very fast heal. 2 people in the boon. And even with that reduction, taking this down to an additional 50%, 2 survivors are going to be able to get that heal done on the 3rd survivor in 5.34 seconds. So it's like a negligible difference. It isn't even a full second of difference in the boon. So I still think that this perk is going to be a strong one. Let me know what you think in the comments. There is, you know, there is an argument to be made for the setup time of it, and having to take that into account, setting it up. And then remember, if you do only have one person on the team who brings in the boon dies with them. So if they get tunneled out of the game and they're gone, there's no more boons for you for the rest of the game. The boon does not stick around. It snuffs itself at that point when the survivor is snuffed. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Now remember, this also comes in concert with another part of the dev blog was the Hemorrhage rework, which is going to cause a decay in healing. If you stop healing and you're affected by hemorrhage, then you're going to lose your healing progress by 7% per second. This will happen whether you're using self-care or the boon. However, if the killer can chase you out of that boon radius and interrupt your healing, you're going to be having that 7% decay, and they can make it so that you can't get back to the boon, even if they, you know, if you lose them or they decide to break chase with you, that healing can go all the way down to 0 if you can't get back to the boon. But if you have self-care, then you can resume your heal in a safer spot and finish it. So that also, depending on how much we see people using hemorrhage stuff in the game, that can also make a determination on whether or not the boon will still have value. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm looking forward to this public test build, presumably next week. If it does come out next week, I'll be streaming it as soon as the public test build goes live and I get the patch downloaded. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to talk about, things that have been addressed in the forums, different questions. So I want to show you some of that now. Okay, so my friend Bridget always makes sure that anything that she sees that's interesting on the forum, she always forwards it to me. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see this? So just so that I'm aware of these things that pop up on the forums. Bridget's a godsend. Thank you very much for that, Bridget. So I'm going to show you a few of these things that you may similarly find interesting. So this first one talks about the upcoming Legion buff, where they said a 5th hit will end your frenzy and put any survivor into the dying state. And they said even to healthy survivors, and Peanut said yes, even a healthy survivor, although that would be very unlikely. Which is true, it would be unlikely, because a 2nd hit on anyone would end your frenzy. So you would have to go around, stab all 4 survivors, and then come back to one of the ones that you had previously hit and stab them with your 5th hit, which would put them in the dying state. Now, what's the likelihood of them being healthy at that point? They would have had to mend and then heal, and then you could stab them and one-shot down them with the 5th hit. So yeah, I think the timing of it for Legion to run around and tag all 4 survivors and then get back to a 5th survivor, the likelihood of that person being completely healthy seems like it wouldn't happen very often. Maybe if they were sitting in the boon, I don't know. It just seems unlikely. So, but yeah, it is possible. And then also, I'm assuming what you're going to see a lot of Legions do is they'll go around and tag the first 4 survivors, and then they'll tunnel that 5th survivor and hit them again, and then that will knock them down, right? Yeah, here, a follow-up question. Does it work if the survivor is affected by deep wounds? For example, you hit Survivor 1, into Survivor 2, into Survivor 3, and into Survivor 4, then hit Survivor 4 again while they're still in deep wounds. Will that insta-down them? Yes, it will work regardless of the health state of that 5th survivor. So I think that's probably what you're going to see a lot of Legions try to do, is chain those 4 hits together and then insta-down the 5th one. So it's going to be scary if you're the one looking down the barrel of the 4th hit, because you're probably going down. Then another person commented that they expected to see some Onryo changes in this mid-chapter. How long does it take to adjust, Sadako? I'm not surprised at this. They usually wait significantly longer before they make any changes, unless there's anything glaring. And the answer is right here along those lines, where Peanut says, generally speaking, I wouldn't expect any changes to the most recent chapter in the next mid-chapter. That's on track with what they've done in the last couple years. Typically, there's 3 to 4 weeks between a major release and the next PTB, and there's simply not enough time for everything to settle, analyze all the new content, and implement the changes before the PTB comes out. And this isn't considering the lead time that we have on the updates. The things in this PTB were locked in several weeks ago, so if something is super pressing, we can sometimes squeeze 1 or 2 changes into the mid-chapter, but we prefer not to if it can be avoided. We're still keeping an eye on her, but we've learned from the past to not make impulse decisions when it comes to balance. So I think you probably won't see any Onryo changes until the mid-chapter after the anniversary chapter, so it'll be 6.1, I guess, something like that. I don't know. So it'd be the mid-chapter after the 6th anniversary. Here's another question about elevation. Did Behavior scrap out the map elevation plans? I believe they talked about it in the 5th anniversary broadcast. The lead level artist said something along the lines, the current DBD maps are mostly flat and they're looking to change that. What makes me believe they scrapped that is they released a killer like the artist that has her power hard countered by any kind of map elevation and multiple level maps. That's true. Like, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but if you're on a 2-floor map, the artist can't arc her birds up to the 2nd floor if she's on the 1st floor. But I don't know if that's the reasoning about it. Can anyone confirm if this is still happening or if it's scrapped for good? And so then Peanut says, not scrapped, no. This is something that is applied to maps going forward, where possible, of course. Both the new maps since that anniversary stream have had a lot more verticality than before. The Raccoon City police station is 2-ish floors throughout the entire map, and the Eyrie of Crows has a lot of verticality to the main building, as well as some of the rougher terrain outside, with some tiles that sink into the terrain in addition to the usual hills. Yeah, you see that one divot on the Eyrie of Crows map where that exposed coffin is in the ground there. So there's some topography going on there for sure. It's something that's progressively being thought about on a case-by-case basis as maps are being worked on, not a sweeping change that's going to be added to every map anytime soon. And lastly, I want to bring up this question here. 2 questions about the Hemorrhage change. We talked about Hemorrhage change coming in the PTB. I'm excited to see that this status effect is being reworked into something a bit more useful, but I have a couple questions about it. How does this interact with Freddy's Z block add-on? This currently allows Hemorrhage to be applied to healthy survivors, but this means regressing healing progress would not matter. Will this just now cause healthy survivors to bleed at the normal rate and nothing more than that? And how does this impact Sloppy Butcher's perk tiers? Its perk tiers currently impact the strength of the Hemorrhage effect and how much more frequent the bleeding is. With this change, the regression rate now instead, or will this change the regression rate now or instead, or will this be something else? And so Design Dad comes in here and answers this one. Design Dad doesn't talk a whole lot, but they always have some interesting stuff to say. And I appreciate this. It says, I just finished writing our patch notes on this. What timing? Sloppy Butcher is being changed to increase the rate at which healing progression is lost by up to 25%. Note that it's a percentage of a percentage, so instead of losing 7% per second, you'll lose up to 8.75% of your heal per second with these numbers. Again, remembering that interrupted healing when you're affected by hemorrhage will cause your healing rate to decay. The progress that you have made will regress at 7% per second. And now, if you're also running Sloppy Butcher, you can get that close to 9% per second. As for the Z-Block add-on, it no longer causes survivors to bleed when healthy, but still applies to the new hemorrhage as per normal. As usual, these are the current values we're aiming for on the PTB, and they're subject to change, etc. So then we had follow-up questions because people were worried that that meant that Sloppy Butcher would no longer mangle people. And they said, wait, does that mean Sloppy will lose the mangle effect? Can I just check? Sloppy Butcher keeps the mangled cell status effect, right? And just becomes a very good anti-healing perk. Sloppy Butcher still applies mangled. Sorry for not being clear on that. I was only thinking about the things that changed and not the things that stayed the same. And then one more follow-up to the Freddy Krueger add-on. I just realized if Z block no longer applies to healthy survivors, doesn't this mean it and cat block have the same effect? They both apply hemorrhage for 60 seconds. And Design Dad goes on to say, such a good point that I went and double-checked my notes. Z block now applies hemorrhage for 90 seconds. I need to update the patch notes draft. Thank you for asking me and making me double-check. And then Filthy Legion Main comes in and Filthy Legion Main comes in and says, are these patch notes out? Because, you know, the Design Dad's talking about the patch notes, so they wondered if we could read them somewhere. But Mandy comes in and says, no, the patch notes won't be out until the PTB is released. Generally, they put the patch notes out about a half an hour before the PTB is released. I'm expecting it's going to be sometime next week. And again, if that does happen, I'll be streaming it on Twitch so we can all experience it together and see how this new Circle of Healing feels, how the Ghostface and Legion changes feel, etc., etc. It's going to be a good time, though. I'm looking forward to it. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments about this Circle of Healing change. Are you gonna just kick it to the side and go for med kits or self-care? What is your plan, or do you think it still has some value? Are you gonna bring it as normal, or you want to just wait and see how it goes in testing and then figure it out after that? But as always, thank you so very much for your time that you spent here with me. Don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.